Hello and welcome to the fourth unit of our second week in the course Avoid SAP S/4HANA project delays with third-party system service virtualization. My name is Konstantinos Tsakalos, and in this unit I will share with you how to parameterize messages from your EDI partners according to your needs. At the beginning of each project, Oscar, the solution architect, and Daphne, the SAP consultant, need to work on the same task: how to name and structure the test cases in the most efficient and meaningful way that allows everyone else in the project to navigate through easily and let them identify any specific test case immediately. At this part of the project, Oscar's knowledge gives a significant value to identify and group the interfaces or the test scenarios. He already worked on various integration projects. He feels the importance of the proper naming for both structures that stores the test cases as well as the test cases itself. But the key role here is held by Daphne. As of now, we know that Daphne is very smart and she utilizes various INT4 suite features to help all the rest teammates with their testing activities. In the second unit of this week, Daphne and Oscar have heard already about the variables concept, where Mateusz was describing the purchase order example. And this is what Daphne utilizes for the message parameterization. Now, having Daphne and Oscar agreed to the specific structure and test case description patterns, Daphne can start with the configuration. They decided to store the test cases in this way. The main folder will show the project name, then the business scenario, and the target test case scenarios will be named with the actual interface name. This is always analyzed and decided individually for every project. It can be simple like this, or it can become a very deep multi-structure in order to store the messages in the most efficient way. For many years in the past, Oscar was preparing manually the test scenarios, where he had to cover each and every business process case. Now, by using a proper test case description pattern, his nightmares are gone. He can relax and leave the various business cases identification to the INT4 API tester. Of course, for each business scenario or even each interface, there may be different test case description patterns. But as a general pattern for the EDI scenarios, Oscar decided to have the original SAP backend sender or receiver system name, the message type of the IDOC, the pattern number, as well as the SAP business document number. Knowing these details, Daphne can complete the automation object configuration in order to achieve this dynamic naming. Would it be difficult for Daphne and Oscar to add all of that information in the test case description for the thousands of the test cases? Not at all. As you remember, the descriptions can be added dynamically based on the content of the messages sent by the B2B and EDI partners. Let's have a quick look on how Daphne configured the parameterization. In the INT4 Suite application, Daphne selects the INT4 Suite API Tester Cockpit. Let me expand the test case scenario structure. Our test cases are under OpenSAP, Week 2, Unit 4, and here we've got some test scenarios. In the already prepared test cases, you can notice the description is following the pattern we just mentioned. Daphne already prepared most of the variables. We can notice the variable ID is not parameterized. Let's have a close look into the automation object configuration. We can see the configured variables here. I see the variable ID is missed by Daphne. Don't worry, Daphne. This is a good opportunity to present how simple and fast it is to configure a variable in order to parameterize your test case description properly. Firstly, Daphne goes to Edit mode and clicks the Create button. She will provide the name for our variable, let's say ID, a proper description, and it will be type custom, and let's configure the details. In the read type, we select the read variable from saved message XPath, And now we need to find our expression. Now, using the expression wizard, Daphne can generate the needed XPath. At this point, I would like to mention that except of the XPath option, you can also use regexes or custom INT4 street language prepared specifically for EDI flat files. Okay, so going back to our example, Daphne has pasted the original outbound IDOC XML payload from the test case, and she's ready to use the XPath value help. She just has to find the needed node in the structure. So let's expand our E1 EDK01, and we want to use the Bellner node for the object ID. We can copy that and paste it in the expression. At this point, Daphne can also use the preview window for any selected test case, and just by selecting any of them and clicking the refresh button, we can see the reference value and the new value for our test document. Okay, and that's all. We can click OK and save, and our variables are created. Now, the last thing that we have to do, we can go back to our cockpit, and we can see how Daphne can at one go rename all the test cases to update the test case description variables. Daphne hits the Edit All button, selects the description. She provides the description that she wants actually to be placed in the test case description pattern, and just clicks OK. We can see the test case descriptions are updated. We know how Daphne configured the variables, and now the messages will be collected and distinguished properly according to the business scenarios. But what about the test case executions, or the actual service virtualization? It is very common that productive EDI messages require some adjustments before they can be successfully reused in the quality environment, either inbound or outbound scenarios. Let's take the same example that Daphne configured for the test case collection. Based on her experience, she already knows that each backend system has a different sender-receiver partner configuration. It means that based on the environment where the tests will be performed, example development or test, the value for the specific IDOC control record field should be the right one. Sometimes also the vendor's configuration is set up differently between the production and the quality, for example. Regardless of the field, the solution is very similar. For each case, Daphne or Oscar are using the so-called mapping objects. Let's go back to the same automation object that Daphne configured in the previous example. We can see the sender partner number variable is type of read and replace. Let's look into the details. Daphne set the replace action to replace value based on value mapping, and there is a mapping object named IDOC sender partner number used, and by clicking the refresh button, we can see what was the actual reference value and what will be the new value based on that mapping object. The mapping object is a quick one-time global configuration which can handle such parameterization. Once we are here, it is worth mentioning how Daphne and Oscar are also handling the SAP document number parameterization in the sales order inbound scenario. When the SAP business documents require a unique key to get processed and posted successfully, Daphne and Oscar are making use of number ranges to generate new unique values for the triggered messages by the INT4 API tester. Let's take a close look at the SAP document number variable. Daphne named it ID, and it is also read and replace type. In the details, you can see that Daphne configured a regex expression to read the original value from the EDI flat file, and there is a number range configured to replace the value on the test case execution. By using the preview window again, we can select a random test case and click the refresh button, and we can see the reference and the new value. And now let's have a look at this number range. If we scroll down, we will see the number ranges definitions. And in this number range, Daphne configured a prefix, the lower and the higher values. And also we can see here the current value, which is 29. That's why we saw 30 in our preview window. And also you can configure suffix, you can add zeros up to the higher value and increase once per test run. Those were just a few examples of dynamic variables, but Daphne and Oscar are encountering such a requirement in numerous additional cases. They have different options to achieve the needed results using the INT4 suite. Either if it is a landscape-related parameterization, different expected technical field values between production and quality, for example, or any other specific business scenario that requires individual, distinct, or dynamic parameterization. Daphne and Oscar maintain all those values with one-time configuration, and none of them have to think of those details in the next phases of the project before the actual testing starts. The variables configuration is remarkable, allowing you to define dynamic test case descriptions and structure names, filter and store the test cases in the right folders, and most importantly, utilizing the various INT4 suite parameterization options, Daphne or Oscar maintain several field values accordingly during the test case executions. Thanks to this, you can dynamically, without any additional effort, parameterize original messages received or sent to the B2B partners. The configuration is done once, and the dynamic parameterization works as long as you wish. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. In the next lesson, Martin is going to present how to simulate responses from B2B partners. See you next time!